All right, welcome to RetireJapan TV, where we talk about personal finance, investing, retirement, and life in Japan. How are you doing, Daniel?
Great, Batman. Thank you for asking.
This is not Batman. These are swimming goggles.
Okay, is the flooding quite bad in your area?
No, this is actually for hay fever. So last few days in Sendai, we've had really high winds. And we had what people call the 4Ks, which is Kyofu, strong winds, Kanso, dry air, Kosa, yellow dust, sand things blown over from the Gobi Desert, and Kahun, pollen. And I suffer from pollen and stuff. And so basically I've got quite a long walk to work. And I've got a long cycle to jiu-jitsu. So the other day, for the first time, I tried wearing goggles. And it's a life changer.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. So basically it means that you don't get pollen in your eyes. You know, really simple. And yeah, what used to be miserable, like itchy, painful, runny eyes, stick the goggles on, you look weird, but yeah, eyes are completely fine because there's no pollen reaching them. Especially when it's windy, like really windy, and you're getting dust and pollen blown into your eyes. And of course, I wouldn't do this normally, but if I'm going to be walking for 45 minutes or cycling, 30 minutes each way, it made a huge difference. And yeah, I recommend it.
So you're cycling through Sendai with those goggles on?
Yeah. Although actually,
you're braver than me.
The goggles they're a bit painful for extended periods,
right?
And also I found them fogging up. So I have another solution that I'm going to go and grab.
Okay, I mean, maybe they make these kind of goggles for pollen. I don't know.
Yeah, anyone listening to this afterwards has no idea what we're talking about, right?
Okay, for our listeners, Ben was sporting a pair of dark tinted swimming goggles, and now he's sporting a pair of non-dark big ski goggles, I think. Are they?
No, this is a construction mask.
Oh, okay.
So this is not ski goggles. It looks like ski goggles a little bit, but it's basically a construction mask. Same kind of thing. Yeah, stops stuff being blown into your eyes. And actually, I'm going to use this in the summer.
Right.
Not for pollen.
Not for pollen. I don't know.
Insects. So cycling along the river. So all the little kind of flies hang out at like face height.
Mm-hmm.
And so normally if you cycle in summer, you're either eating flies or they're flying into your eyes, which is really unpleasant.
Okay, I wear glasses. I don't really have that problem, but then you cycle more than me as well. So, okay.
Yeah. So even sunglasses that don't quite protect you because they come in the sides.
Right.
But yeah, these spiffy construction goggles that I got from Amazon are going to be very nice, and I don't think they're going to fog up like the swimming goggles were. So
it looks like there's a tiny gap at the back that would help with the fogging.
Yeah, they've got vents apparently, which might cut down slightly on the pollen protection, but it's not. You're not getting stuff blown directly in. So,
wow, there you go. You heard it here first. Ben's money saving tip.
Well, I don't know about money, health tip maybe. Yeah. So I never had allergies until I came to Japan. And I didn't develop them until like my third year. So spring in my third year, I was like, wow, I've had a cold for a long time. And readers, it wasn't a cold.
Right.
And since then, it's just got worse every year. So
yeah,
I'm hoping, like I've heard stories that they kind of get better after you reach like, middle age or like 50s kind of thing, that somehow they drop off. So I hope that's going to happen because it's absolutely miserable now. By far the worst thing about Japan is this pollen stuff.
Yeah, a couple of things about that. I had really bad hay fever when I was a teenager, actually, and go to the doctors. They did some tests, and apparently I was allergic to trees, or the pollen in trees at that point. And so for years and years, I would take this medication called Triludan, which was okay, but a hassle. And then I read somewhere at the time, your body refreshes itself every 7 years or something like this. I don't know if it's true or not. But at some point, it just disappeared. After several years, it just went. And
did you move to Japan at that point?
No. This is when we're still back in the UK.
Okay.
And then, touch wood, I've not had hay fever since then. But when I was a student, this is still back in the UK, I did a summer job and stayed in a new place during the summer. It was actually in Cambridge as a punt chauffeur. We can talk about side jobs later, actually. It was wonderful. I loved it. Anyway,
I've worked as a punt chauffeur.
Really? What are the odds? Wow. Yeah, wonderful job. Anyway, every morning I would wake up with a cold. Sounds like you. And why do I get a cold every day and it's lasting a long time in the summer? And my mum said, it's not a cold, you've got an allergy. And it turns out mum's right, as they often are. And I'm allergic to feathers. So I can't remember at that time if it was the pillow or the duvet, but feathers would just give me this streaming cold in the morning. And then by the end of the day, I was okay, but then it would come back.
You go back in the feathers,
day. Yeah. And since knowing that, in a hotel room, I try not to sleep on a feathered pillow and stuff. And it's a whole lot better. So it could be some other kind of allergy in some people's case. Definitely worth trying things out if you think you've got a cold for a very long time.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I actually take antihistamines now.
Oh,
and I found a GPK, so an ear, throat, nose clinic. They tend to do the allergy stuff, and got something prescribed. And at first, I was only taking it in allergy season, but now I take it like all year round. It's pretty miserable.
Right.
So.
I did do a similar allergy test actually when I had the annual Kenko Shindan health checkup for an extra fee, and I don't think it was that high. They take your blood anyway, and for an extra fee, you can add on these different things. Do you want to test for this disease or whatever? And one of them on the list was allergy tests. So I did that, and without having an extra, injection or whatever, you get the allergy report as well, and it's really useful.
Nice. I might have to look out for that. Yeah.
Well, we're getting questions in already. We are going to go through questions a bit later on. We try to group them together, so hang around and we'll get to those later. Anyway, what are we talking about today, Ben?
We are talking about part-time jobs or part-time work or side gigs or side hustles. Basically, recently in the past in Japan, generally, if you had a full-time job, you were you're kind of discouraged from doing part-time work. Often it was in your contract, you're not allowed to work outside of your main job. And that was kind of how things worked. And then recently that's been changing a bit. So mainly because companies haven't been able to keep up with wage demands, the cost of living increases and so on. So more and more companies have now been saying, hey, if you want to do part-time work to, improve your finances slightly, that's fine, as long as it doesn't impact on your main job. So there's been a kind of mini boom, I think, in Japan of people doing part-time work, looking for part-time work, thinking about part-time work, and reading about part-time work.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because almost as if it's been planned, I have a supplement here from Monoclo, my favorite magazine. It says, what is that? Mokaru. I think that's Mokaru Fukugyo. So basically, side jobs to earn money, and it's not like get rich quick or anything. It's aiming at a reasonable 30,000 yen per month. Can you do something on the side to earn an extra 30,000 yen per month? And it's got some ideas in here. It's got the usual thing that you might expect, like be a Uber Eats driver, for example. Get affiliate revenue on your blog, which is much harder than
it's really not easy at all.
Yeah, but it does have some other interesting things in here. So the first one, I'll go through. It's about 4 or 5, I think. The first one is sharing, making money through sharing things you've got. The obvious thing is sharing your home or a spare room you might have in your home through Airbnb.
Now, of course, that's not as easy as it is in some countries in Japan, because Japan's actually got fairly robust rules and laws around Airbnb. So you really need to check out whether you're allowed to first. But yeah, I know lots of people that do Airbnb in some way in Japan.
I think it's a limit of 180 days a year, but that
Yeah,
could
and
be
if
with
you're
some
in
other
certain
restrictions.
areas, you can't do it at all. Like
That's
like my
true.
mansion block doesn't allow it, for example.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
that I wanted to do it, but
Yeah. So not as easy as it sounds. The other thing it's got here is brand goods sharing. So you've got your spare Louis Vuitton bags in the cupboard that
of
you're not
course.
using. Yeah. There is a website called Laxus X, Laxus, sorry, Laxus X, Laxus X, and they
That
suggest
doesn't
that you
really
can
have
get.
the like high brand image, Laxus. It sounds more medicinal to me.
Yeah, possibly. It suggests you can make up to 6,000 yen a month just by lending out brand goods that you're not using. I should point out, I haven't tried this or looked into it. This is just things that are recommended as things to
Sounds
look into.
very risky, doesn't it? Like you lend out your 500,000 yen bag for 6,000 yen a month.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like a great cost benefit analysis there.
No. A few years ago, I did see on the news, I can't remember if it was cars or high-end watches. I think it was high-end watches. There was a similar like P2P thing, and the people in the middle would take the watch or whatever that you were sharing and then give it to people who wanted to rent it for a month or whatever. And at some point, they left the country with a bunch of watches. And yeah, people lost out big time.
They really had the good side job, didn't they?
Yeah, you can make money if you scam people. No, we're not encouraging that. Please don't do that. Right, the next thing to share is skills, and there are several ways to do this. I've actually done this myself by making little videos and putting them on platforms like Udemy or Skillshare. But this one is for Japanese speakers, and it's a site called kokonala.com, COCONALA.com, and it matches people's looking for skills for people with skills, but the examples it gives are fortune telling or dieting recipes. So I don't think it's really like technical skills. It's just something that you happen to know about. That's
right.
I should say this it's aimed at beginners just looking to get some money without certain qualifications. The next sharing thing is car sharing or car park space sharing. So with car sharing, the site they recommend is anycar.net, anyca.net, and they suggest you can get up to 50,000 yen per month by sharing your car. And the car parking space sharing one is Akippa, AKIPPA.com, and they suggest up to 10,000 yen for sharing a car parking space.
See, that one I've heard of, particularly in Tokyo, I think. So you basically share it out on an app. Like if you're not home, people can use your space. It's cheaper for them than parking in a commercial space, and you get some money.
It feels safer.
That feels okay. The car one, I've heard some real nightmare stories about that, where you're lending your car to random strangers, and how robust are the kind of guarantees and insurance provided by the intermediary party? Because your insurance isn't going to be valid for that, is it?
Right, of course, yeah.
So I probably wouldn't do that. I might lend out a car space. I probably wouldn't lend out my car.
And a comment from Sen says they've used Akippa before when parking a car and living in Tokyo, and it's pretty reasonable. Okay, so we have one
satisfied
one
customer.
user, satisfied customer. Thank you.
Nice.
Right, so that's one way of increasing sort of side income by sharing something you can do or something you have. The next thing in this Monaco booklet is acting as a representative or an agent. They call it dairi for different things, for different occasions. So you sort of offer yourself for some purpose. And the first one, and I think I've heard of this before, is to act as a guest at somebody's wedding. So you can get paid for just turning up, being a guest at a wedding. I'm not sure if you get the free food and drink. I guess so. And they say you can get up to 7,000 yen for one time, which is the base level, because then you can supplement that if you are on the reception at welcoming guests, or if you do a speech, then you can get an up to 8,000 yen extra for doing a speech for somebody you don't know at their wedding.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about Kensuke now. Kensuke, I met Kensuke 20 minutes ago. He's a great guy.
But
Insane.
you do have experience of doing weddings, not as
I
a
do, but I wasn't a
guest.
guest.
No.
I was a wedding celebrant for probably about 8 years. And back in the day, that was a very easy way to make money on the side. So you do weddings, on holidays, on weekends, and so on. And in season, depending on the wedding venue, like some venues are really production lines. So I used to work somewhere where you could have up to 8 weddings a day.
Wow, that must be exhausting.
Each wedding would pay around 15,000 yen back then. So do 8 weddings in one day.
Wow.
120,000 yen. And
That's
you
very
could do
good.
that for like 6 or 7 days a month in season. So
Really? Wow. I guess it
yeah.
does. It's not easy work though. I mean, you must be exhausted after that.
It's very stressful because you absolutely cannot make a mistake. So obviously, if you get the names wrong or if you screw it up, it's on video. They're videoing it, so they have proof that you messed it up, and it's very unpleasant. But it's mostly you're performing on stage. Basically, it's a performance. It's like an acting role, basically, but it's very high stakes and just exhausting, right? You're meeting people all day long, so. But incredibly good money, and I'm really grateful I had the chance to do that because it basically saved my family. Like,
wow,
very expensive. Like, I was just working, normal teaching jobs, and I had, 5 people in my family. So
wow.
it was a very expensive time. So I'm really glad I had this relatively high income part-time job to supplement that. But at the same time, I was very happy to stop doing it as well. So.
Right.
It no longer pays that much.
Okay.
So apparently, I've heard it's more like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 yen a wedding now.
Okay.
There's a lot more supply, and demand's going down because fewer people are getting married because fewer people are alive.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, the industry's shrinking, and there's more and more people who are qualified to do this, and obviously, anyone with a spouse visa, a permanent residence, or a missionary visa can do this. Those are the 3 visa types you could do this kind of work on.
Yeah. Wow. Sen asked, do you think we can charge a premium as foreigners?
Well, if you're the celebrant, yes.
Yeah, definitely. For the one that the magazine talks about, just as a wedding guest, I think it might be possible. Unfortunately, they don't list a website specifically, but it's called Kekkonski Dairi Shusseki. So wedding sort of representative.
I think you'd have to be a very outgoing person.
Right, you're gonna have to chat with people.
You're gonna, I mean, you're not gonna sit in the corner and like miserably drink whiskey or something. You have to like be the life of the party a little bit. So, yeah, probably not for me. This part-time job.
Right. There must be companies that have that accept set up to welcome foreigners as well. Maybe with a premium. I don't know. The other kinds of representatives or agents. One is called RetireJapan Appeal Daiko. So this is somebody that appeals in the background of something, usually a photo by the looks of it. I've not heard of this before, but it's basically some kind of simple modeling, but for social media. So you go along, they'll take pictures of you, and then they'll add your picture in the back of social media photos for some influencer or product or something. And they say, depending on the season, we might change your clothing or the color of something, or whatever.
That also seems a bit risky, given that you have no control in what they're going to use it for.
Yes, yes. But they do say, maybe because of the risk, they do say up to 50,000 yen for 2 hours. So sorry, I really don't have more information about that, but it's called.
Yeah, I can imagine finding yourself online in some like all the thieving foreigners entering Japan now. You're in the background
promoting some dodgy stuff. Yeah. RetireJapan Appeal Daiko. The third one, I have heard of this. You can be a temporary boyfriend or girlfriend for somebody. So kareshi kanojo daiko, it's called.
This is generally to meet people or to go to events with, not.
I think it's to go to events with. It's like, look,
temporary girlfriend type things.
I'm not single. I've got this very handsome boyfriend called Daniel. Look, I'm cool. And it says up to 25,000 yen for 1 hour. of being a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Well, maybe it does include other girlfriend experience
Okay.
type things.
So unfortunately, again, no websites listed for looking into this, but Karishi or Kanojo Daiko is what it's called. The next one is another Daiko, but it's not quite as fun, and it's being an apologist. So you go along and you apologize on behalf of somebody who has done something wrong, and you take all the whatever they're going to
Anger and
give
shouting and
right. And in return for that, you can expect between 20 and 30,000 yen for a couple of hours.
Depends who you're apologizing to, doesn't it? Like, the Yamaguchi Gumi. I'm not sure I'd take that one.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if someone's actually paying money for somebody to do it on their behalf, it's probably not just a, sorry guys, I messed up kind of thing. It's probably
right. It's more like, you're gonna get like groups of that sounds similar to the one where you pay people to resign from your company on your behalf.
Oh, to save face,
you don't want to,
so you don't have to do it yourself.
Do it yourself, and you don't want the pressure and all that. Like the number of people I've met who are like, my company won't let me resign. Right. So you just get a third party to do it for you who knows the law, I guess, and therefore isn't going to take any. I
think that says Shabatsu Daiko. The fifth one is Gokon Moriage Pai. So somebody who raises the mood, like a cheerleader kind of thing at the Gokon, dating festivals, dating events.
I can see that. Yeah, someone who's like outgoing and brings people into the conversation and stuff. Well, again, you need to be the right kind of person for that one, I think.
Yes, and for some people, like, wow, fantastic! I get paid for going along and having fun.
To drink. Yeah, go and have a drink. Yeah, I had a friend like that.
Oh, really? It suggests like 50,000 yen for 2 hours of that.
Damn. That's better than the wedding priest gig.
Yeah. Of course, these prices are just guides in the magazine. I can't guarantee that's what you will get, but this is hopefully helpful if you want to start researching this stuff. The next category that comes up is something I did not expect at all. This sounds like a proper YouTube like builder, doesn't it? You won't believe what is the number 3 on the list.
Stay till the end to hear the.
Right. It's got 2 pages devoted to collecting and selling sea glass from the sea, as in like broken bottles that have been worn away by the waves and become nice little smooth sort of irregular shaped objects that you would find on the beach. And so it's got steps for how to do it. Part 1, go to the beach, walk up and down, and then look out for nice little, glass. They could be clear.
The glass sticks in your foot. Color. It's not been worn down enough yet.
Yeah, you won't be able to sell that one. Look out for them. And it says if they're a darker color, that means they're older and so likely to have more value. And actually, sort of, you can grade them by color. Apparently, they pick up a darker sort of greeny, bluey color over time. Apparently. Anyway, they then say you collect these. Oh, so they've got an example here where they actually tried it. They went to the beach. They spent an hour collecting these bits of glass. They collected 2.7 kilograms between the 2 of them. And then the value of that was estimated at 12,000 yen. And then to sell it, you would put up a little shop on Rakuten or Amazon, or I guess you could do Mercari or something like that, and sell it as shi gurasu. There you go.
Okay.
And apparently it's good with repeat customers. Keep coming back to buy new.
I guess people are making stuff out of this.
Yeah, possibly.
Customers.
Yeah. There is a restaurant. So we live in Kanagawa, Ken, not far from the sea actually. And there's a restaurant close to us. And when you pay, it's got a little jar of sea glass, really nice, pretty sea glass, on the paying counter with a sign saying, if you bring us a nice piece of sea glass above, I think, 2 or 3 centimeters in length, we'll give you a voucher for a free dessert next time. I don't know what they're doing with it, but that's a really cool idea.
Okay. I had no idea about this market.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, pretty cool. So those are the unusual things. And then it's got other things of making money, like sort of sell extra things in your house. And you might think, I've got nothing to sell, but it does encourage you to actually take a careful look. this could be combined, actually. I've got a friend who recommended going around and videoing your house for insurance purposes. Just sort of take a record of everything in your house. And if something ever happens, you got the video to prove that, yes, you did have that Rolex or whatever. So you could do that for the insurance purposes. And as you're doing it, you're probably going to find things like, well, I don't really need that. And then, yeah, you could sell it on Jimty, it recommends here, or Mercari, Yahoo Auction, that kind of thing.
Okay. You've done that, haven't you?
Yeah, I sold things on Yahoo Auction lots of times. Yeah. And
my daughter's done Mercari a bit.
Yeah, my son is Mercari, and he loves it. He does it really quickly, all on his phone. Take a photo, and 5 minutes later, he's got it up there. Whereas I'm much slower, taking photos and then writing the description and then measuring everything. So, yeah. But yeah, both work very well. The only thing is, I've found that it's really easy to underestimate how much money is taken out from the 10% that Yahoo or Mercari will take, and then the postage, because often the postage is included on Mercari, and I find things sell better if you include postage on the Yahoo auctions. The other day, I sold 2 windscreen wiper blades that I bought the wrong size by mistake. Sold them for 2,000 yen, and then I only got 1,000 at the end because of the 10% and the postage, which makes you think, well, at a certain point, is it really worth it?
Yep.
But certainly the market is incredible. The speed with which things can disappear on Mercari is incredible.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the alternative to that is to get rid of it, I guess. So throw it away, or if it's too big or too specialized for regular garbage, you have to get the city to come and get it. You can go and buy the sticker from the Konbini, stick the sticker on it, schedule the pickup. Or the other option, at least in Sendai, is you can take the stuff to a dump. And the way they work in Sendai is they weigh your car on the way in and on the way out, and they charge you by weight, regardless of what is in there. So, and then once you're inside the dump, they've got like different zones for different types of rubbish. So you'd have like, construction materials here and metal stuff over here, electronics over there. So I think that's the way to go if you've got a lot of stuff to get rid of.
Really good idea.
And then they'll weigh it. Basically, they charge you by the kilo or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a lot cheaper than getting the city to come and get individual items.
We have taken stuff to book off or hard off before, but the amount you get there is very low. Sometimes
it's basically just getting rid of it, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. Yeah, I used to get frustrated that, I'm only getting this, but I switched my attitude now to I'm giving it away for other foreigners to enjoy these English books, and the money
I'm not paying to get rid of it. Yeah,
right, yeah. And that makes it easier. So those are the slightly unusual side jobs you could do in Japan.
They're kind of weird, aren't they? Most of them. I think that's more like an entertainment article than an actual side job article.
It's got other things as well. Briefly, it mentions like the review sites, or Monitor, I think it's called, monitoring, where you will go and review things and you'll get a few yen per review. So you have to do a lot to actually make some money.
I know they've got like auditor type jobs where you go into a restaurant or you go into a supermarket or a shop, and as a shopper and kind of review the service and how it's going on behalf of the parent company.
Right. Yes, I think that's the one.
So Sushiro pays you to go to Sushiro and have some food and see if the shop is actually operating properly.
Right. Yeah.
Friend of my wife is a shop detective. So that's her part-time job. She's a undercover security person in supermarkets and stuff. Like, she just walks around and finds shoplifters, basically.
Wow. Is that dangerous or fun or boring?
She seems to like it. I don't think it's particularly dangerous. I mean, we're in Japan, right? So very, very unlikely to be dangerous. And I think even, if you bumped into someone who was dangerous, you could probably just choose not to chase them, which is probably the rule as well anyway. So What have you done part-time job-wise then?
I tend to do stuff online if I can. And so what I've done is, the video courses that I mentioned earlier. I like doing something and then trying to get recurring or passive income from that afterwards. That's my preferred method. And so I've made some video courses, mostly about technical stuff, about programming. And it's a lot of work getting it all set up and then sort of planning what you're going to say. It has to be like a nice sort of logical structure to it. Although I have to say, AI ChatGPT is really good for this now. It's like, this is what I want to say, put it into a logical structure or logical ordering, and it's very good at that. And then, have I missed anything out? What else should I be talking about? So it's very helpful for planning that. And then speaking to the camera, I found that if I was reading a script, it just looked awful and sort of really stiffened and boring. So just an outline and then try and do that into the camera, remembering what you want to say, and then you inevitably have to record it again and again. And then a noisy motorbike rides past. So, okay, I've got to record it again. And then you've got to edit it afterwards. It's a lot of work, but I made a couple, maybe 3 years ago now, and they still bring in maybe 20, 30 pounds a month. Less than 5,000 yen a month, but it's just, they're coming in and I don't need to do anything about it.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So that's what I prefer to do. And then the other thing is I've got a website with affiliate links on to eBay. It's not a blog. I think with a blog, you've got to keep doing it every week or month. And as you know from Retire Japan, that's a lot of work. So the website I've got is about watches and it's just informational. It's about 1,500 pages of just technical information. Which I kind of enjoyed collecting anyway, because I'm kind of nerdy like that, and it was useful for me. But put it out there, and then if you're interested in this watch, here's a link to buy one on eBay. And yeah, people do that.
Is that profitable?
It is. It covers the server costs because they're pretty low. So at Christmas time, I can get like 30,000 yen in a month, and then when it's sort of the quieter months, maybe 4 to 5,000 yen.
Okay.
Not 45, that's 4,000 or 5,000 yen.
Yeah. So that's quite similar to the Retire Japan YouTube channel.
Oh, right.
Quite a bit less work.
Yeah. Again, setting it up, there's a lot of data to sort of manually put into a database. But I've enjoyed doing it anyway, and now it's just there ticking over. But a couple of times I had an eBay come to me saying, "Hey, you haven't properly indicated or clarified your source of income, eBay affiliate membership, blah blah blah, on the website. Do this within 7 days, or we'll close your account." They're really, every now and then I get a scary email. What? I thought I'd done this. I'm sorry, and then it's all fine. So you have to be like just ready to act if and maintain it occasionally.
Okay, and that's the extent of it, kind of online stuff.
Yes, but
I mean, most of my part-time work in Japan is kind of teaching based, apart from the wedding priest thing. Like, so I've done part-time teaching, of course. I've done test invigilating, test kind of interview as the examiner. I've made test questions for companies. I've written textbooks. There's quite a lot you can do in the education space. I wrote lesson plans for Interac a long time ago. I wonder if they're still using them. And then the big ones were the ones that weren't teaching based was obviously the wedding priest thing, and then Retire Japan. So similar to you. So we've got some products. We've got ebooks, we've got courses, and then there's passive income from YouTube. And otherwise we don't have ads, so we're not getting affiliate. We have affiliate links to Amazon, but that's about it. So no ads on the site. And Wise,
Actually, I did do a teaching related thing. This is through my work. I got contacted sort of separately. This many years ago. Well, about 10 years ago now. It's like, we're looking for somebody to talk about sort of the global developments in the car industry for new employees at Honda. And so it was at the one Honda factory up in Chiba, and then one Honda factory down in Nagoya at the Suzuka circuit, which was wonderful. And I did that, and then they asked me to do it again the following year, so I did that. It was, I forget how much it was now. It was 100 or 200,000 yen. So it was a nice, good amount of money. But then the amount of effort I had to put in really was a lot, because it would be a few meetings with them in advance to work out what they want.
Okay.
And then kind of plan. It was a day-long course. I would be basically leading a day-long course for these sort of new employees. So it's a lot of content that I had to research and find, and then do the plan, show it to the sort of contacts I was working with. They would be happy with it, and then I'd flesh it out, and then create slides for each section of the day, and create some kind of activities, group activities for the people to do. So yeah, it was good money, but it was a lot of work. It was interesting. But
yeah,
yes,
that sounds about normal. Like when I did teacher training for organizations, it would be kind of 100,000 yen for a day, or 50,000 yen for half a day, kind of.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if anybody's considering this, do think about how much additional work you've got to put in outside the hours that you're physically going to be there. That the planning is kind of to a lot.
Definitely.
How would you advise people to, like, if people are thinking, yeah, I want to do that, I've got this, these skills, I want to teach it to a business or something. How would you recommend people like get into that?
That's really tough, isn't it? Like, normally it would be a contact, wouldn't it? So someone's in charge of doing the course, and they have to find a teacher. So it's not like you can go to a website and be like, yes, I'm a foreign expert that wants to talk about this. Maybe we could make the website. That might be a good, I think, go on LinkedIn and establish yourself as someone with that expertise, maybe.
Yeah. Or networking physically, locally, as much as you can.
Yeah.
Good. If anybody else has interesting side jobs they've done in Japan, please leave them in the comments.
I've actually got a kind of half-baked plan to do more side jobs, mainly for YouTube content.
Right. Yes.
So there's a few I'd thought of. Like I think security guard would be quite interesting, in the little trucks.
With your jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah. The armed criminals will be quaking in their boots. Obviously, konbini would be interesting to see what it's actually like. Restaurants, bookshop, cafe. I'm sure there's all sorts of little kind of weird jobs as well, like like lifeguard, or like woodland instructor, or that guide kind of things.
Yeah.
I went horse riding once, and they were like, "Oh my god, you should come and work here." So I was like, okay.
What?
That'd be my summer job.
Oh wow. Pretty good. Speaking of summer jobs, actually, our son had a summer job repeated over several years at the Umi no Ie, so literally like sea house. And if you live near the beach in Japan, you'll notice in the summer, and it's usually from the 1st of July to the 31st of August on the dot, these wooden structures go up along the beach for small little cafes, restaurants, bars. They're called Umi no Ie. And so through a friend of mine, he found this local person that was running one, and they just look for young people who can stand around by a beach in the summer in the hot sun and not moan and just take orders and deliver food nice and easily. And he really enjoyed it. It was a very sort of cool bunch of people, young, enjoyed hanging out, and the pace was nice and relaxed, but he did have to work pretty hard, and it was, obviously was very hot. But he enjoyed that. And it's the good thing about that from his point of view is it's just for the summer. Once it's done, no pressure.
Yeah. They also have like showers and stuff, right?
Yes.
So it's
sometimes shared. Yeah, but yeah.
So it's a kind of place where you kind of base yourself while you're at the beach. You can get food and drinks and have a shower at the end, kind of thing.
These ones here near us are a bit more basic, and the shower is like the municipal sort of outside shower, which they would share along the beach. So it really is just like an outside bar, cafe, restaurant kind of thing.
Yeah, they're very popular in Spain as well. All right, should we do some questions?
Yes. Just while we're talking about side jobs, Dr. Krishna says they've done convenience store graveyard shift in the middle of the night for 3 months. It was fun, but messed up my biorhythm. Yeah,
I can imagine. Like, I'm sure it's not very busy. Like, anytime I go in a company late, maybe it's just Sendai, but yeah, they're pretty dead. Like, no one's in there. So. Yeah, probably be an easy job, but yeah, that flip. I'd rather do the morning shift, I think, than the overnight shift.
I'd do overnight. Give me easy anytime.
Really? Like,
Yeah.
I did. I was on a phone line in university as a volunteer thing. You know, kind of, mental health kind of, counseling type stuff. And that was like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. and it was just hell.
Oh, that's right.
Being awake like at the wrong time. It's just, it's really unpleasant. So.
Okay, yeah, that sounds tough. Anyway, yeah, questions. Good.
I want to welcome Mark first, new member, Mark Woods.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Thank you very much for supporting the channel and supporting Retire Japan.
How did he do that? How did he support?
So he's a member on YouTube.
And how do people do that?
You click the join button. So if you go to one of our videos on YouTube, you can subscribe. And if you're feeling super generous and want to help, you can click the join button.
Which is what Mark did. Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay, so we've got a question about ETFs.
Hello, sir. This is from Bipin, by the way. Thank you for the question, Bipin. Hello, sir. Can you recommend NASDAQ and SPX funds of ETF for Japan, NISA in Japan?
Okay, so in NISA, if you really want to buy an ETF, it's going to have to go in the growth portion. So you can't put it in the Tsumitate portion, which is fine. And if you want a specific ETF, I'd just search for it. I don't have a preference for these. These are kind of tech indices, I guess, the NASDAQ and the SPX. I just search for it. So ETF. So basically in Japan, you can buy US ETFs through most of the brokers. So you'd just be looking for a US ETF that you can buy in NISA. And as long as it's not leveraged, you should be able to find a NASDAQ one. Just look at the fees, make sure the fees aren't too high, and that should be fine.
I need to apologize to you, actually, because my son has got the SPX fund in his NISA, the ETF. Nice and simple, it's a low fee, don't need to worry about it, and get some dividends from it. And you said, yeah, but you get taxed because it's a foreign fund. And I said, no, Japan's got this fancy new thing where it understands that there's double taxation or something, blah, blah, blah. And so the tax is no longer payable if it's in a NISA. But you were right. So you don't pay sort of the Japan tax, but the kind of the US tax you do pay through the Japan authorities. So they will take off a smaller amount of tax if it's for example, US.
So this is the US withholding tax on dividends.
Yeah, that's
and because of the US-Japan tax treaty, it's 10%. And if you have that in a taxable account, you can deduct the US tax from the Japanese tax. So you always pay the US tax, but you can get it back from Japan if it's in a taxable account. But if it's not in a taxable account, if it's in NISA, there's no Japanese tax, so you can't get the US tax back.
But you will still.
It's not a huge deal because it's only 10% of the dividend.
Right.
So it's not levied on capital gains. It's just if the dividend's 4%, the tax is 0.4%. So it's like, meh.
Oh.
Not ideal, but not the end of the world either.
Okay. I thought it was capital gains as well. Okay. Right. Just be aware of that, but it's not a big deal. Good. Thank you. So you were right.
Woo-hoo. It's a learning experience, learning moment.
Yeah. Did we have any other questions?
We had one about we had a long one.
Right, an investment question.
Yes.
On one of the other Japan-related YouTube channels. What? There are other ones?
What? How dare they? Without permission?
Yeah. They interviewed foreigners living outside of Japan who don't hold a residence visa buying real estate, which is possible. You don't have to live in Japan, I don't think, do you, to buy Japanese real estate. Anyway, they had this in Japan as a vacation home, and they were intending to rent it out on Airbnb. What are your thoughts on this as an investment?
Well, yeah, I mean, Japan is actually fairly unique in Asia in allowing non-residents to buy real estate. Lots of countries in Asia are very strict about this, like Thailand. If you're not a citizen, you can't own real estate, I believe. You have to own it together with a Thai partner. And that's pretty common. Japan, no restrictions at all. Anyone can buy real estate. The whole Akiya boom, I think we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
But, Japanese people are not stupid, and there are real estate professionals here. So if you have a building that no one wants to buy and they put on the internet for a ridiculously low price, there's probably a reason for that. So to come in and not even live here and not understand the market and think that you have some kind of edge seems a bit unlikely. Also, for example, if you wanted to rent it out on Airbnb, Japan's pretty strict about that. You have to, meet all the requirements, be aware of the rules, follow the rules, etc., etc. You're definitely going to need local partners to do it, right? You're going to need a maintenance company and so on. So it doesn't sound great. I mean, for me, the best case with the kind of Akiya cheap home thing is you live in the area, there's a cheap home, you're familiar with the area, you buy the home because you want to live in it. That would work. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical. Like, there are several big YouTube channels. I think they're kind of real estate porn, basically. It's like, look, in your country, you cannot possibly afford to buy a home, but look, in Japan, they're cheap. Anyone can buy them. And so there's a real kind of fantasy element to it, I think. And some of these channels really play off that. They're like, yeah, I just helped an investor buy a home here, and it only cost $10,000, and they're really happy now. But are they going to be really happy in 5 years' time? I don't know. Mm-hmm. So I think it probably sounds better than it is.
Yeah.
And, obviously it's going to work for some people, but they're going to have to do a lot of homework, I think. And have very realistic expectations. As an investment, I don't think so.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah. Also, in the property value itself is unlikely to increase. Well, if it does, it would be at the rate of inflation, but even then, I don't think it would increase at the same rate. So, aside to the income stream, the actual investment potential is quite low, in my opinion.
Yeah. In terms of, you're not going to have capital gains or anything, even if you put a lot of money into renovating it.
A good answer to that question would be at the Japan Real Estate Summit. Putting this in the comments, there is one coming up April the 12th, and the website unfortunately does not have a link for signing up. So maybe it's full up. I don't know. But
they were doing early bird discounts recently. So
maybe they
wouldn't have thought
filled
so.
it up. Oh, okay. However, previous ones are up on the videos. So let me just put the comment to that. So Japan Real Estate Summit 2024, and actually ones before that as well, I think.
Yeah, there's lots of content on Akiya as well, isn't there, on there?
Yes, as well as Airbnb. And so one I attended, was it Tracy, I think her name was, did a really
Tracy
good
Northcott.
talk.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, really good talk about Airbnb. She loves it. She does well from it, but she puts in a lot of work. And that's the message I got. It's like, if you don't want to throw everything into it, then it's probably not for you.
It's not passive income at all. Yeah.
No. Right. We've got another question here from Brad. Thank you, Brad. Brad. Not related to part-time jobs, but do you know about the over-the-counter medicine deduction that can be made at tax season?
No, I've heard about it, but I'm not familiar with the details. So normally, if you have medical expenses, including hospital visits and transport to hospital and medicines and stuff, that are more than 100,000 yen, you can deduct that from your income tax. But this new one with I'm not too sure about that. I think there might be a new thing with over-the-counter, certain types of generic medicines, maybe, that means you can get the tax break with lower amounts of spend. But yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't looked into it.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Interesting. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. One thing I did, this is a really, really small money-saving tip, but if you've got a kusuri techo, I think it is, and you take that along when you get your medicines, you can get, I think, like 30 yen off or 40 yen off.
No, it's the opposite.
Oh, what?
So if you have your kusuri techo, you don't have to pay extra, but if you don't, you get charged a surcharge.
Oh, okay, right. So you're
being fined for not bringing your techo, you irresponsible person, you.
Okay, and the fine is
30 yen.
30 yen. Okay, right. Money saving tip: avoid fines. 30 yen. Neil has a comment here which I don't fully understand. We need UCITS ETFs to reduce the 30% withholding tax. I think that is to 15%, e.g., an Ireland domiciled fund.
Possibly, but Japan gets 10% because of the tax treaty, so Japan funds would be better from that point of view. Normally, the withholding tax is 30% for the US, but Japan residents get special treatment. So,
all right. Can I ask a dumb question? What does UCITS stand for?
I'm not sure, actually. Oh. So it's an undertaking for collective investment in transferable securities.
Oh, okay.
So it's a EU mutual fund kind of thing.
Oh, I see. It's a European specific thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Krishna says, regarding purchasing an Akia as a non-resident, beware and be aware. Yes. A lot of research in advance, I think, there. Foregone conclusion points out a good thing here. Keep this referring to medical bills here. Keep medical receipts through the year, because if the total over 1 year goes over 100,000 yen, then you can use that to reduce your tax burden for the following year.
Yeah. Although actually, if you got my number card, it'll pull in all your hospital spend automatically into the e-tax system, but it won't cover over-the-counter medication, transport to and from hospitals, etc. So if that is the case, it probably makes sense to keep receipts just to make sure you don't miss anything.
Right. They say that they keep all their receipts, clip them all together, and then take them in taxis. And so you might not need to do everything if you got the My Number card. That's over the. Oh, right. Yeah. And so the difference between that and the thing that Brad was talking about is Brad is talking about over-the-counter stuff where you don't need a prescription for it. And we don't fully know about that yet.
Yeah, sorry. I haven't kept up to date with that.
Okay.
But I might look into it and do a little blog post or something.
Actually, Foregone Conclusions says it's for purchasing from over-the-counter.
I think they're talking at cross purposes.
Thing, right? Yeah.
Not the same thing, perhaps.
We'll try and find out. Now, you mentioned you can get your taxis and travel costs covered for the hospital thing.
Yeah. So that would count towards the 100,000 yen. If you were taking a taxi or taking the train or taking the bus, you'd also be able to claim that as an expense.
Right. Slightly related to that, an interesting thing that happened this past month is that our car broke down. We tend to save money by buying old secondhand cars, and occasionally they break down. And sure enough, ours did. And it just will not wait. It drove about 3 meters out of the drive, and then it just stopped in front of the house. And so
could be worse. Could stop in the middle of the expressway.
Yeah, we were fortunate in that respect. I couldn't work out what was wrong, and so we got a local garage that we trust, and phoned them up, and they could bring a truck to come and pick it up. But he said, maybe check with your insurance because they might be able to do that. And I thought, it's not an accident, the insurance is not going to cover that. But my wife said, no, they probably will. really? I phoned them up, and the nicest lady said, "Oh yeah, no problem. We'll send a truck out for free, covered under the insurance, to come and pick up the car." And they did. They took it to the garage, and then the garage couldn't fix it. They said, "Sorry, this has got to go to an official dealer because it needs the computer programmed and stuff, and that's only possible at official dealer." So, okay, we'll have to pay for that ourselves. No, phone the insurance company just in case. And they said, "Oh, it's still the same problem. It needs fixing." Okay, no problem. We'll get a pickup truck, to come and take it across. Again, all covered under the insurance. Didn't pay anything. Unbelievable. So that in itself was fantastic. A few days later, we got a letter from Times, like the car park. And I thought, oh no, so like we haven't paid for parking or something, I've got a fine. No, Times owns the truck company or something like that. And it was a form saying, if you've encountered any extra expenses with your car being towed, like you had to get a taxi or something to go to the garage or to wherever your car was being taken to, because you're not allowed to go in the truck with the driver.
Yeah.
Fill in this form and we'll pay for those costs as well. It was unbelievable.
What?
They're actually nudging us. Like, have you got anything
cascade
else?
of free money.
It was. The service sometimes in Japan is fantastic.
But that's a very good point, in that a lot of insurance does cover roadside cover as well. So the pickup trucks, or like flat batteries and flat tires and whatever. So
yeah, even from the house, I was really surprised. And my wife did double check that does not increase our premiums next year. It's not going to affect it. So.
Very nice. Awesome. Right. What's next?
Well, we have some more comments about the medical expenses. We don't know that, so we recommend people to look through those comments, research it, and we'll try and find out more about it.
Yes.
Right. Okay, moving on. We have shameful investment story going partially to cash. Is this something?
Yeah. So anyone who's followed Retire Japan for any amount of time probably knows that our standard advice is just to invest in low fee, broad based index funds, whether mutual funds or ETFs, and just leave it. So don't try and be clever. Don't try and time the market. Don't, read the news and make investing decisions. Just invest every month. Keep investing for as long as possible. Don't touch the investments and you'll be fine. And so, of course, last month I decided to sell 10% of our portfolio and go to cash with that.
So you dropped the market. It was you.
It was all my fault. Yeah. It was a rug pull. No. So basically, I had two reasons for doing that. The first is that I suspect that there'll be some kind of correction this year. And in Japan, we're going to talk about this later, but I'll talk about it now instead. So basically, when the next stock market correction or crash comes along, it's quite likely that as the stock market goes down, people will buy yen, because that tends to happen when the stock market's weak. People buy yen for safety, and therefore the yen is going to get stronger. And so as the stock market falls, the yen's going to get stronger, which is going to make any funds denominated in yen less valuable in yen. So you're going to have a double whammy where the stock market's going down, the yen is going up, and your yen denominated world stock fund is going to exponentially go down. So at some point we can easily imagine a 50% loss in yen terms of those kind of international world stock funds. So if you own world stock funds, and the idea of a 50% temporary reduction freaks you out, it might be a good idea to think about your portfolio and maybe adjust it slightly so that it won't be as traumatic, basically, because that's fairly likely to happen. And when it does happen, the worst thing you could do is start selling stuff once it's gone down. You should just leave it, maybe put in more money if you've got any when things are cheap, and basically wait for things to recover. But the second reason I've decided to go to cash with some of our portfolio is just for living expenses. So I'm retired, basically. My wife is not great health-wise, so we're not sure what the next year or two is going to look like. So it made sense to lock in some cash at the very nice valuations that we had, a month ago or whatever. So that's why. So it was a case of do what I say, don't do what I do. I don't recommend going to cash. I don't think it's a good idea. It's very likely that if you try and time the market, even if you get it right, going back in again is the tricky part. So it's quite likely that you'll miss the recovery, and that would basically nix any gains you got from it. So,
For Conclusion has a good comment as usual. If you are worried about stock market drops or corrections, then that means you're overweight in stocks. You've got too many stocks.
exactly.
So the fact that you're worried about it itself means, you should rebalance. That's a good point. Portville, hello, Portville. How about tax reduction methods for those who fall into the top 40 tax bracket? Do you want to talk about that, or should we leave that for
That is a great question. I'm actually drafting probably a YouTube video about this, about how to reduce your tax bill legally in Japan, all the various things you can do with that. So that is coming up soon-ish.
Okay.
So yeah.
One thing I did try, and this might be relevant for Portville, I had to do my taxes, and when I got to the very end and it says this is how much tax you owe and how much is taken off, blah, 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 I just drag and dropped, copied and pasted all of that text from that page. And you know what's coming? I pasted it into AI, removing any personal information, of course. But so one thing I do to sort of keep a bit secret is, like, rather than this is me doing it, but this person, what would you advise this person do to try and save money, tax? Are there any things they're missing out on where they could reduce their tax burden? And unfortunately, didn't bring up anything that I was not doing, but I was surprised at how accurate it was. It did get something wrong in terms of what it assumed the limit was on something. I can't remember exactly now. So you've got to double check everything that it outputs. But in terms of generating ideas, it was pretty good.
Okay, so you could ask AI, or you could wait for our video.
Yeah, look up for that. And the YouTube channel, you're watching it right now, probably. It's just Retire Japan on YouTube.
RetireJapan _OG.
Oh, the channel name, correct.
I couldn't get RetireJapan for some reason.
Yeah.
So someone's squatting on it or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are people watching on Facebook and X and LinkedIn, possibly. So
well,
if you're one of those people, we do have a YouTube channel as well.
Good. Right, moving on then, we have some news, not too much this time, but the first one is about your short form podcast, the RetireJapan Bite-Sized
the RJ Pod, or the Bite-Sized Podcast. So this is a new-ish project. There's 22 of them now, so I'm quite happy with that. Please check it out. It's on pretty much any podcast platform. So if you look for Retire Japan, you should find this, RetireJapan TV, but you should also see the Bite-Sized Podcast. So please give that a listen. Share that with people if you find it good. And if you can't find it, let me know, because I'll make sure it's added to your podcast platform of choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. And next up, that was quick. Allergy season. Oh, I think we've seen talk about this. Okay, my turn next. Timotei shampoo. This is serious. We're getting to the serious news now. You can't get Timotei shampoo in Japan. That's what my wife said. Don't be silly. Of course you can. I'll find some on Amazon. Oh, wait a minute. What? And she was right. It's like, if you can find it, it's been imported by somebody, and it's 4,000 or 5,000 yen for a bottle of Timotei shampoo. You just can't get it here. Why? We've been using it for years and years, and suddenly it's just not available. So if anyone knows why, I'd love to hear that. If anybody's got any other products that they've found suddenly disappeared, maybe there's some secret conspiracy. I don't know. Please share that. Yeah, it's very, very weird.
Yeah, it's a Unilever product, so maybe they just weren't selling enough in Japan or something.
I guess so. I looked at Amazon Germany, and yeah, they've got some for sale there. Very, very strange.
I'll bring some back for you next time I'm in Europe.
Oh, thank you. So I just wanted to vent that. Yeah. Right. Talking about stock market dips and crashes, I think we've done that. And then filing taxes. You wanted to mention something about filing
Yes, I mean, obviously tax season ended today, so I think you might still have time to get your tax return in if you haven't yet. But I just wanted to comment that I do find the tax system here quite user friendly. So the fact that the vast majority of people can just do it through their company is fantastic. And then Mats Jose, end of year adjustment, you don't have to file a tax return. And if you do have to file a tax return, it's pretty user friendly. So you can walk into the tax office. Some tax offices you have to make an appointment, but you can just go there in tax season, and someone at the tax office will basically walk you through your tax return, give you advice, help you fill it in. And once you've done that a couple of times, then it's quite easy to do it online through the e-tax system. As long as you got your My Number card, it was very easy. It took me about an hour this year to do my taxes, and just really fantastic. So compared to a lot of countries, filing your taxes in Japan, pretty painless.
Yeah. What I really find useful is how they let you save the data as you're going through it. And then the following year, you can import that data from last year, and it just fills out everything. And so when you're putting in all the different things, basically you're just updating the numbers for this year as opposed to typing in the address or company name or whatever again and again. Even just working out which section I'm supposed to fill in.
If you're getting income statements from the same companies, because I have trouble with the kanji sometimes in addresses, especially Tokyo addresses, because I'm not used to them at all.
Right.
So I've recently been using just like Google Lens with that, because it's a piece of paper, obviously, so I can't search for it, but you can lens it and get the kanji that way. So
that's a good idea. Whilst we're talking about that, actually, Daniel Jones R227 asks, do I use AI a lot? Yes, every day. Is ChatGPT the best, or do you recommend others such as Perplexity, Grok, etc.? I personally really like Claude. I'll explain how I use it in a second. But Perplexity is good if you need like current links. And so I use this at work sometimes where I'll need to have some kind of link to back up what I'm saying. And so Perplexity, give me examples of where, the other day I was, Sam Altman, give me examples of where Sam Altman has talked about the risks of AI or something like that, and it'll find one of his tweets or something. So Perplexity is good for getting citations and links and stuff. Grok I haven't used yet because I'm not really keen on Twitter. So Claude I prefer over ChatGPT, but they're both pretty similar. The way I use it is, I don't know if I told people actually, but I work for a company called DuckDuckGo, and we have a AI page at duck.ai, duck.ai, where you can access not the very latest models, but models that are good enough, GPT 4.0 mini, for example, and it doesn't require a password or a login or anyway. You just load the page and then ask AI questions. So that's how I use it on a quick day-to-day basis, just because it's so fast. If you want the more fancy features, then chatgpt.com is good. You have to register for an account to use that properly, or Claude. Personally, I prefer Claude. That's my answer.
I use Gemini, and recently I've tried Claude with a few things. It seems really good for writing stuff, or at least drafting stuff.
Yeah. I have another clever example of how I use AI a bit later on coming up, so hold on for that. Whilst we were still talking about income tax, I did find, before I was going through the form, this non-official income tax calculator. There were a few out there, but I found this one was pretty accurate when I actually compared the final real amount I had to pay. So it's all in Japanese, but if you're looking for something quick just to get a rough prediction, that's pretty good. JP Phil asks, is it helpful to pay taxes halfway through the year if you have foreign income?
Not sure.
I've had to do this before, but I don't think I had a choice. Above a certain level, it will send you a letter saying, we want some tax in advance halfway through the year.
Think you're going to owe this much, so pay it now.
Right, yeah. And that wasn't necessarily foreign income. It was like any income. It's like, we think, you're above a limit, pay now.
I think if you're not asked for early taxes, don't give them your money early. Just make sure you have it though. Like, don't spend it on people to look good in your photos or whatever.
Many Japan firms agreed to unions' wage hikes demands. That's the next bit of news that I have. So this, as people may have seen on the TV, it's the season for the local labor unions to push for wage increases from big companies. And they cover it every year. It's called the Shunto, I think it is, season. And it looks like the big companies, Toyota, Honda, whatever, are more or less, Honda maybe not so much, but most of the big companies are agreeing pretty much to the maximum demands of the labor unions, which seems to be roughly 5 or 6% increase in wages. That then puts pressure on the smaller companies to increase, which often can be tougher. So I think generally the smaller companies will not increase it as much. But anyway, if you work for or somehow are affected by the big Japanese companies, then wages are going up. That inevitably will then lead into more pressure on inflation. But as you mentioned to me earlier, Ben, that's the good form of inflation.
Yeah, wage-driven inflation is really healthy for the economy. But the big question is how much of this trickles down to smaller companies, because the big companies, it's great, but they don't make up a majority of the workforce anymore. So the real question is it going to trickle down to normal kind of workers?
Yeah, I think I saw a different article. There has been an increase in smaller company bankruptcies, and a lot of it is because of the increased wage pressure.
Yeah, well, I mean, just for example, my wife's school, we give people annual raises, but we can't keep up with that because we're not putting prices up. So
why not?
So we're constrained. Well, yeah, but we put prices up 3 years ago, so it's like it's not easy to pass on, especially for something like this, which is a monthly subscription. So,
right, yeah, of course, yeah, like the rent here. So people interested in property investment, if you have a regular house or apartment or something that you rent out, not as an Airbnb, but it's just full time, somebody lives there. There's not. So this is just stuff that I've learned from Ziv at Nippon Tradings International. There is not as much flexibility as a landlord to raise rents here as there is in many other countries. I'm not sure if it's legal or if it's just social pressure, but a friend of my wife's has been living in her apartment in Fukuoka for maybe 20 years or something, and the rent is the same as when she first moved in, because it's just not the done thing.
Yeah, my wife's school, same rent. Since we rented it originally 15 years ago. So
wow. So maybe it's a similar expectation from the parents, then they don't expect you're going to increase the membership fees.
Well, everything's going up too. So, if you become too expensive, then you get cut as an expense. So.
Right. The other news story I have, Portville says, love what you guys are doing here with this channel. So much valuable information. Really appreciate everything. Well, thank you very much. That's really nice to get that comment. Right, the next news thing I have is not really finance, but it's people living in Japan related, foreigners living in Japan related. So with the boom in tourism, one of the sort of impacts of that, the effects of that, is apparently hot springs are running out of hot water. It mentions Saga Prefecture, but it seemed to indicate that it could be a national problem. They are asking, or hot springs are having to restrict how much hot water they extract because they're using so much. And it could possibly, or some hot springs have actually had to close at some point. And in other cases, they're restricting. They're asking people staying within the onsen resort, please don't have so many late night hot baths because they're running out of hot water. I never thought that could be a thing, but
that makes no sense whatsoever, because onsen, it doesn't matter how many people use the bath because it's constant.
The article mentioned people in their rooms having onsen, but then that's.
Oh, I guess some hotels use onsen water for their hot water. I guess it's the possibility there.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
I don't see how that could have anything to do with foreign tourists. Yeah. Maybe it's tourism, domestic tourism.
Yeah. Or more tourists, they've had to extend the hours, and that uses up more water. Okay.
Seems a bit dubious to me.
Yeah. Well, these foreigners, they're causing all sorts of problems, aren't they?
Eating all the rice and paying all this money to visit Japan.
Yeah, the nice rotten bulldog. Yeah. So that's all the news that we have. Now we're going to move on to. Do we have a music clip for this? I'm not sure. Frivolous purchase. Oh, we do. Oh, I can't say the title until I've done the music. 1 second, please. Frivolous purchase confessional. Confess your skins here. Your sins here, Ben.
Well, actually, I didn't. So I have the anti-purchase. So I didn't buy a computer because I was thinking about buying a new MacBook Air because everyone seems to love them.
Very nice, yeah.
And it looks great, and it would be nice and exciting and fun. And then I kind of looked at my current computer, which is an older MacBook Air, and it's completely fine. It works perfectly well. So I was like, I don't need a new computer, even though I want to buy one, and I can buy one. I don't need it, so I decided not to.
Wow.
And we didn't buy a car because Toyota is messing us around with their stupid dealership system. So we haven't got around to it yet. So I haven't bought anything. That's my
congratulations.
My frivolous purchase boast. So I've bought nothing.
Boast. Oh, okay. Well, to make up for that, I have got a confession, and I've been frivolously buying Pokemon cards. So my son and I.
What? You some kind of geek?
Yeah. So our interests don't cross over very much. And I like to do things together. Anyway, so we found this thing that is we enjoy doing together, and it's buying Pokemon cards. He knows way so much more about it than I do. So he's my advisor. I don't know how to play the Pokemon game. I just buy it because I think they'll hold their value. And it's something we share together. And I just bought, so this is something I've never done before, the Neppu no Arena is the latest one that just came out. And he discovered that...
A humid wind arena.
Yes. So he discovered that this new set was coming out, was it Saturday or Sunday, I think? And Lawson were going to sell it from 7 a.m. So at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, we were getting into the car to go and be the first people to get to Lawson. And
was there a line? Were there people waiting to buy these cards at 7 a.m.?
No, we could have gone like a bit later. It would have been fine. There was one other young schoolboy that turned up, and a lady with a couple of young kids, after us. And then everyone got their box of cards, no problem. Anyway, his theory is you don't buy just a pack. You buy a box, which is 5,400 yen. You buy the whole box, and then it's full of 30 of these packs. And then you sit there and then open it. And the reason you buy a box is because you're almost guaranteed to get the good ones in, whereas if you just buy the packs, there's nothing. So anyway, we both did that, and then we came back and we opened them all. I got to say, it was quite a lot of fun. Yes, we did. Yeah. And I got, if anyone knows about this stuff, I got this. What is this? Shirona no Gabrius EX. Nice, good, shiny one there, which is a good one apparently. And I got a Shamey full art shiny one. The official one is that's AR. I'm not sure what AR means. You got AR and SR. Oh, R means rare. So is that art rare? Maybe UR. I think maybe ultra rare. They sold out pretty quickly. Apparently, super. It could be super rare. Yeah. Anyway, so it's pretty good fun, and keep them. And then if you want to, you can send them off to PSA. Is one of the companies that will then grade it for you and tell you how good it is. And we actually did this. We sent some cards off to PSA. He got one a couple of years ago in a pack from the Konbini. Just opened it, and then straight away there was this really valuable rare one in there. And valuable, I'm talking 5 figures Japanese yen valuable. And so straight away, don't touch it, put it back in the pack, gets home, put it straight into one of these plastic protective sleeves. We send it off to PSA to be graded. Okay. It's barely been touched by human hands, and 10 is the top, like perfect mint condition. They sent it back with a 9 rating. Why? Because the centering of the print is slightly off. No, it was perfect. The condition is perfect. It's just it wasn't perfectly centered, like the print with the borders around the edge and stuff. So you could have an immaculate card and it still wouldn't be a 9. And the value of that is roughly half of what it would be if it were a 10 value.
Okay.
PSA grading. I could tell you a lot more. I'm learning so much stuff. Anyway, so that's my Frivolous purchase. Is a bunch of Pokemon cards.
I saw a video of someone that found one that was worth $2.6 million apparently. So
what? Really?
Wow. So
blimey.
You know, maybe it's like buying a lottery ticket. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get the packets, I think it is. Although, so what we've tried, or he's introduced me to, is if you go to a trading card shop, what they'll often do is they'll have a thing where you can buy their original pack. So it's called Oripa, Original Pack. And instead of an actual proper unopened Pokemon one, it's one they put together, and it could have something super good in there, or it could just be kind of average.
Seems unlikely though, doesn't it?
I got one.
There's something super good in there. They probably sold it separately, right?
Well, they make sure that the total value of the whole like box from which you're choosing from is like worth less than whatever they paid for it or something like that. But within there, like a lucky dip kind of thing. And so, yeah, we done that a couple of times, and that's fun. And they tend to guarantee you're going to get something that is not terrible. Whereas if you get from a pack, you could have 5 that are just not worth anything. So that's a fun thing to do. A question from Portville: is there PSA grading in Japan? Yes, there is. You send it to a Tokyo address. It's all in Japanese, but they then send it in batches to the US to be graded by the headquarters. Then it comes back to PSA Japan, and then they send it back to you. So it does take a few months. They don't grade it locally. At least when we did it a couple of years ago, they did not grade it locally. You have to allow a lot of time. Ask me anything you want to know about Pokemon cards, and I can find out from my son.
Awesome. Oh, quick question from Rennie-san.
I'm a few years away from retirement. I have a Japanese spouse, and I'm planning to retire in Japan. Is this group only for people already in Japan? That's a very good question.
No, not at all. So Retire Japan is information about personal finance in Japan. So yeah, we have a few people that are, Japan adjacent. So they have left Japan, or they're planning to come to Japan, or they're planning to come back to Japan. So yeah, come along. We've got a forum on the website. So RetireJapan.com, the forum. It's a good place to ask questions and get information if you're, making plans, basically.
Yeah.
This particular video show thing is just us talking about random nonsense, really.
JP Phil says he's glad if coins go up in value if off center. Yeah, I see this on. So we like watching Kantei-dan, Nandemo Kantei-dan. It's like the equivalent of Antiques Roadshow in Japan, and it's a really nice, easy to watch, fun program. And occasionally they'll got people with the gold coins on, and yeah, inevitably they'll say, "Oh, well, this one, sort of slight error or something on it, and only produced in a batch of 100, and it's worth loads and loads of money or something like that." Right, what do we have then? Oh, Daniel's money tip. Right, I have a jingle for this. I have a jingle, everybody. Hold on. Okay, let's save some money, and this time it's at the supermarket. With the cost of cabbages and all sorts of fresh produce increasing, how can we save money at the supermarket? I've got 5 tips for you. The first one you're probably familiar with, which is work out when is a good time to go to get things that are on discount. And so it might be the end of the day when they're trying to sell things, or it might be a different time when they've got some other reason where they want to quickly get things off the shelves. The other day, it was, I think, Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, I noticed the lady putting things on the sushi and stuff. So sort of mentally make a note of that. Okay, Saturday around 2:00, they tend to start discounting things, and then that's a good time to go back. You said, what was it you noticed about your local supermarket as a good time to go?
Sunday evenings. So basically, at least my local supermarket, they have lots of kind of nice stuff on Saturdays. So they're trying to sell like nice meat and nice fish and stuff like that. Obviously, the family's home on Saturday evening or whatever. But if they don't sell it, then by like Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, they're really discounting these like steaks and nice kind of sashimi cuts and stuff like this. And it's a really good way to get super cheap, very nice food. Sunday evening, because the supermarket's given up on trying to sell them. They're just trying to get them off the shelves before they have to take them off.
Yeah, worth a try.
So if you want some Wagyu beef, like steak,
posh
that's
stuff.
the time to go.
Really? Okay, so eat late on a Sunday after you've done your shopping in the evening. My second tip is kind of related to that. So in our supermarket, all through the day, they will have at least something discounted with that little red and yellow sticker on it. Mentally, make it fun. So how to have fun and save money is give yourself a Wadibiki challenge. And I did this and it was really good. Like, I am only going to buy Wadibiki items. It was my turn to cook. I had to go and get the stuff for lunch and dinner. I didn't know what to do, but I went, right, this is going to help me decide. And I only got things that had the discount sticker on and got a bag full, came home. And not only have you saved a bit of money, but you feel really good, like, yeah, I've kind of cheated the system. And you end up trying some new stuff that you normally wouldn't buy. So that's how to make saving money fun. My next tip is go to the Gyomu Super. I'm not sure if it's the same chain everywhere, but around here it's a big green and white sign. And I'd assumed for years that, this is just for businesses to go. You have to, like Costco, you have to be a member, if you've got your own business or something like that. But no, it's completely open for anybody to just go in and just shop there like a normal supermarket, except it's more tailored for people who are buying in bulk, like local restaurants. And you do tend to find things either from abroad, like sort of Polish biscuits or whatever, or stuff from brands that you've never heard of because they're sort of cheaper, maybe own brands, or they just haven't got the fancy marketing budget that other brands have. But the produce itself is perfectly good. It's just exactly the same as you find in normal supermarkets, but it's noticeably cheaper. So that's my tip. Give those a try. The fun bit for me is going around and seeing what is so obviously fake and how close is it to the original. Pringles comes into my mind because the fake green Pringles tube in the Gyomu Super is really suspiciously similar to the genuine Pringles, and they've clearly just adjusted a few things so that they won't get caught out by copyright police. What else do we have? The next tip then is to work backwards. So a sort of marketing psychology podcast I like listening to, their theory is that supermarkets often have the vegetables and fruit and stuff at the beginning through the entrance, because you will then spend, or you're more likely to spend more money on the sort of junk food stuff afterwards because you feel that you've already done the good stuff. I'm not explaining this well. You go in, you get your vegetables, you get your fruits, and then later on you think, well, I bought all this healthy stuff that's good for me. I deserve a treat, so I can buy this chocolate and Coke and stuff. Whereas if it were the other way around, if you were going straight in and there's all the chocolate and Coke, you'd be less likely to buy it. And then when you get to the end, you get your veg. So my theory is to give that a try. Try going in a reverse direction. So go straight to the junk area, and you're less likely to buy it because you've not got anything to reward yourself for. And then you probably buy less junk food, and then you go and your basket is still half empty, so you can buy all the proper veg and fruit at the end.
I completely disagree with this. Because at least in my supermarket, so you go into the vegetable section and then you go to the back of the supermarket where the meat is, and then you carry on to like the dairy bit where I get my like Greek yogurt, and then you leave. Like, you don't go in the snack bit in the middle, right? Like,
maybe they've got those chocolate biscuits on discount. It's worth, you got to go and check.
Those chocolate biscuits are dead to me. They don't exist.
Oh, I wish I had your willpower.
And I don't go to God, there's what is it? The place that Walmart bought that's open 24 hours. Supermarket. Damn it, forgot the name. But anyway, they have fruit and nut chocolate, so I don't go there anymore.
Oh, lovely. Wow. That's not Caldi or something, is it?
No, it's
Say you.
Green
Dr.
one.
Krishna saying
Say you, yeah, say you. Nice.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna.
Okay.
Yeah, say you.
Right.
They have like huge, those big fruit and nut bars for like 400 yen or something really ridiculously cheap. So I just don't go to the supermarket anymore.
I would be there straight away. Wow. Dr. Krishna actually makes a really good point. Let's call this tip 4.5. Make a budget, make a list, and stick to it. No impulse buying. Yeah, it requires a lot of discipline and willpower, but we have found that on our phone we have a shared shopping list, and that is super helpful for saving time. If anything, you just know what you're going to get, and yeah, you don't sort of go off track as much as you normally do. And then as soon as you run out of like tin foil or something in the kitchen, aluminum foil, you just stick it on your phone, and then you remember when you're in the supermarket. And my fifth tip is a little bit unusual, but this is going back to our AI chat earlier. I was buying olive oil, okay? And it's so hard to buy olive oil because you're all these different size bottles. It's not like milk where everything's in a litre pack. It's all these different size bottles and all these different prices, obviously. And on some of the labels, I mean, the actual like shelf label, not the bottle label, the shelf label will say it's, I don't know, 50 yen per 100 litres or 100 grams or whatever. But on some of the shelf labels, it doesn't say that. So which is the best value for money? I don't know. I took a photo of the whole sort of 2 shelves with all the olive oils on. And then, I sent it to ChatGPT and said, please rank these olive oil bottles in order of which is the best value for money. And it did it. It read the Japanese. It read the numbers on it. It then calculated it. Actually, I didn't use ChatGPT. I used Claude, but so I'm sure ChatGPT would work. And yeah, it then gave me the list, and I did check it, and it was correct. It picked out the one that calculated the best or the lowest price for the number of grams or milliliters that you get. Really impressive. So you can do that for anything. If you're stuck with what's the best value for money, then take a photo and ask AI. I was surprised how well it could read it and calculate.
So you upload the photo to the AI bot?
Yes. So for this, you will need one with an account. I think ChatGPT, with the free account, you can upload photos to it. And yeah, surprisingly good how it can read the text and numbers in the pictures. And quick. I was just standing in a supermarket and it was very, very quick. Yeah, there we go. So those are my 5 plus a bonus one from Dr. Krishna tips for saving money at the supermarket. Shall we go back and do some more questions next?
No, let's do the forum updates and then we'll do the questions at the end.
Okay, right. Sounds good.
All right, forum updates. So as you know, Retire Japan has a website, and as part of that website, we have a forum. It's quite an active forum. It's a good place to get information. You can read it without having an account. If you want to post, you need to make an account. But here are some forum posts from this week. So there's one about ways to save on taxes in Japan. So if you're interested in that, go and check it out. Paying tax on foreign bank account interest. So when do you have to do that? In what circumstances would you have to do that? The UK state pension system now has a function where they will call you back in up to 8 weeks' time. So it's not as exciting as it might be. But you can ask them to call you because the wait times are pretty brutal on the UK state pension phone lines. So they now have a thing online where you can put in your phone number and they'll call you a couple of months later. Maybe.
That's got to be UK time.
I'm not particularly confident on that one. There's a thread about the windfall elimination program for Americans. This is for Social Security and pensions. Basically, I think the Biden administration got rid of the WEP, the windfall elimination program, which is good news for Americans who are going to get a pension. Check it out. There's a really amusing and sad post about financial education in high school from a high school teacher who had an event for the students at their school, and they had an outside expert come in to talk about personal finance, and it was a bit of a train wreck. So go check that out if you're interested. We had a thread about business bank accounts. So if you have a company in Japan, it's quite difficult to get a company bank account because all the banks are getting stricter about this. There's been a lot of crime using, bank accounts and so on. So it's actually pretty difficult to get a bank account now. So there's a thread about that. Thread about paying taxes with credit cards. This is possible in a lot of cases. Yeah. So I pay my real estate tax, my kote shisanze, by credit card because I get points. And also because I'm trying to reach certain spending limits. So if you choose to pay your taxes by credit card, you will pay a fee to the portal. But in some cases, it might be worth it if you get cash back, or if you're trying to get a certain number of points, or if you're trying to spend a certain amount of money, which is necessary with some cards to get the benefits. That might be an option. There is a thread about receiving Nenkin while living abroad. This is possible. You can get your Nenkin from anywhere in the world, apart from North Korea, I believe. When you leave your job, some companies will buy your unused vacation days. And so there's a thread about that, whether it's a good idea, whether it's legal, etc., etc. There's a thread about mortgages for non-Japanese speakers, and there's a thread about buying or building a house in Tokyo. Someone who really doesn't know where to start with that process. Got lots of good advice, lots of specific kind of advice there. So that's a quick snapshot of the kind of topics you can see on the Retire Japan Forum.
Wow, really good. Thank you for all that. So now I think we can go over to questions in the chat.
Let's do it.
What do we have then? We went back. Dr. Christian mentioned Hakone. Yeah, that's really nice for hot springs. We did the a few years away from retirement question. We've done PSA. We've not gone to REMS yet. So REMS. They ask, what is a good bank account to put emergency funds in? All interest rates seem to be super low here. Yep. So I wonder if there would be some good alternatives.
No. Basically, you can get a return, or you can have instant access to your money and have your money be stable. So for an emergency fund, you want your money to be stable and you want to have instant access to it. So you're basically stuck. The best bank accounts, I think, are paying up to 0.8%, but there's lots of conditions on that. So personally, I don't bother. I just keep it in my normal bank. Yeah, there's not great options, unfortunately.
In my local bank, the prefecture bank, it's the Teiki, sort of not regular, is it?
Fixed term deposits.
Fixed term, right? Accounts that they have, you can choose 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. And I put it into a 1 month thing, and the rate doesn't change between 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. I don't know why they would have three different ones if the rate is still 0.25% for each of them. Anyway, I looked into it. The penalty for taking it out before the month is up is just that they don't pay you the full amount of interest for the month. So that's not really a penalty. That's kind of like what I would expect. So there's no sort of financial benefit, but I like that psychological benefit. Is like that's in a separate account. I could take it out and it only takes a few minutes, but still there's a sort of like, a sort of mental barrier there.
I'm not going to take it out without good reason, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I find that helpful. But yeah, financially, he's not going to benefit from it. Seaweed has gone up in cost. Yes. Seaweed. Oh, I hadn't noticed seaweed has. Certainly rice is about double. Rems asks again, any idea where to buy vegetables around Tokyo, organic, cheap ones? And then, very kindly, Portville replies a bit later on and said, hang on, who was it replied? Sorry, JP Phil then replies and said, Life Supermarket has Bio Real, and Inagea has local grown vegetables, usually at the door. So we don't really know about that, but thank you, JP Phil. Maybe that has answered their question.
Nice. And actually, before that, Foregone Conclusion said Hanamasa is good for meat.
Oh, beg your pardon. Okay, nice. That's good. Right, next question then was Lavita Star. Hello, Lavita. I know lifestyle is a big factor, but in general, is an income of 25 man, that's 250,000 yen a month, considered a livable, comfortable wage for a family of 5 in the countryside in Japan?
My initial impression would be no. That might be okay for a single person, but for 5 people, that's definitely a stretch. Unless even if your housing cost was incredibly low or zero, that would still be a bit of a stretch, I think. So, assuming that's family income, like, yeah, I'd probably want twice that.
Right. Would that then put you in a group though, where you can get some kind of benefits to supplement your income?
I mean, you're likely to be in the not paying income tax group just from that many, because each dependent would give you a deduction on top of your basic deduction and so on. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty dire. You're pretty much in poverty in Japan standards, I would say, for that.
Right.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but it wouldn't be comfortable.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I had 5. Yeah, I had my wife, 3 stepkids. In Sendai with quite an expensive rent, but our family income was at least 45, I think, at that point, for me and my wife both working. Yeah, we couldn't have done it with 25, I don't think. But that's in Sendai, that's in the city.
Right. Not really a question, but a comment about the olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is hit or miss, says Dr. Krishna again. They purchase extra virgin olive oil from Lebanon online. I think that's 1.5 rather than 15 gallon. But anyway, a big can costs $200, but it lasts a whole year. Wow.
Cool.
So 15 gallons would be 6.8 liters. Sorry, 1.5 gallons would be 6.8 liters. 15 gallons would be 68 liters. $200. My brain's not going to think about what that is, but it's one of the two. Anyway, online Lebanese.
How would you get a 15-gallon can delivered is the question.
Oh, holding it up over the frying pan. It's going to be quite tricky. I'm joking. Wow, I'd not thought of that though. I mean, it's interesting. Look into these options. In fact, maybe that's another supermarket tip. Like, can you get it cheaper online somewhere? We're saving so much money today. Renaissance says, thank you very much for the information. You're very welcome. I hope people find it useful. Another question from Portville. Are there any pre-tax contributions, pre-tax contribution retirement accounts similar to the US 401k?
Yes, Ideco. But if you're a US citizen, you might not be able to use it. Just going to put that into this is how you spell it. IDECO. Definitely worth investigating. There's a lot of information about Ideco on RetireJapan.com. The next question, Omar. They make 450,000 a month. I'm guessing that's Japanese yen. Single, living alone. How much should I put down into Rakuten Securities a month? What would you recommend? Well, you want to use NISA if you're not American. You can put up to 300,000 yen a month into NISA. That's probably the upper limit. Basically, the amount you should be saving and investing is as much as possible without making yourself miserable. And that's going to be a really personal decision. So the way I did it is I started with quite a small monthly investment, and then I raised it over time. I tried to pay in more and more and more over time until it got to the point where I couldn't put in more. So I think that might be the way to do it. You need to kind of try and work it out, basically. But me telling you how much to do is not going to work, because I don't know what you want or what kind of lifestyle you want or what your expenses are and so on. As much as you can. But if you find that, life is not fun anymore, that's not worth it. So you want to scale back at that point.
I think in the past you recommended the alternative direction as well, where just get saving something or investing something. Tsumitate NISA can be done from 100 yen a month. Just do that and then build that up depending on how comfortable you are with putting extra money in until it starts to feel like a stretch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So. Next question from Divine L. Do you think the home loan variable interest rate may reach 2% anytime soon? Come on, predictions.
Well, it's still, according to what I've been seeing online, it's still under 0.5%. So the variable interest rate hasn't gone up, but the fixed interest rates have gone up. So Emil Gorgies does a monthly video on interest rates, which is kind of cool. Normally on LinkedIn, but if I find it, I'll put it in the Monday read. So if you have a look at the Monday read, maybe once a month we'll have this interest rate video, or you can look online. You can find, easily find aggregator sites for mortgages. But yeah, so the variable interest rate hasn't really gone up yet. I think the lowest is still 0.345%.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't think it's going to reach 2% anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we should point out that if the official Japanese interest rate does jump at any point, mortgage rate providers are limited by law as to how quickly they can raise their interest rates.
Not quite.
No?
They're limited by how much they can raise your monthly payment by.
Okay.
So the interest rates can go up. The interest on your mortgage can go up, but your monthly payment won't go up more than, I think, 20% every 2 years or something.
You've already got the
So
mortgage.
if that happens, your mortgage will get bigger, but you won't have to pay more each month. So there's a bit of a safety feature in there, in that you're not going to get, bankrupted by having your monthly payment double or triple, but you're not escaping the consequences of interest rates either.
It's basically deferred further down the line. Oh, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
with a variable interest rate.
This is why I watch this podcast. I learned so much. With the variable, right, the fixed one.
Yeah, the fixed ones won't change, obviously, because they're fixed.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I missed that detail. Dr. Christian clarifies, they were talking about 5 gallons. 5 gallons, which is almost 23 liters.
Like 20 liters, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow, that's really good value.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Seijo Ishii has a great selection of organic olive oil. Oh, we've got Seijo Ishii. Yes. Right, next question. This is René-san again. Are you aware or know someone who retired, moved to Japan, but kept all or most of the finances in the US or the UK or Europe for that matter? Is that possible, or does it become painful or maybe even illegal?
Okay, so it's not illegal. For US people, it's probably the best option if they want to keep investing, is to leave all their investments in the US with a US broker. People from the UK or Europe, if you know you're going to be staying in Japan, it probably makes sense to bring money over to Japan eventually, just because it makes your tax reporting easier. You can use things like NISA, tax advantaged accounts. But there's no kind of legal thing about having stuff overseas. You just have to report it. So there's the overseas financial assets reporting form you have to fill in every year if you have more than 50 million yen's worth of stuff abroad. And then, if you're getting foreign income and so on, you may have to report it to Japan for the first 5 years you live here. You will have to report it to Japan after that. But there's no reason not to, keep your stuff abroad if you want to.
I was in this situation. I had shares back in the UK and I had income and shares here. And each year doing the Japanese taxes, doing the UK taxes. And I think I didn't have to pay in both because I do have a taxation agreement. But still, I had to tell the Japanese authorities what income I've got from dividends from the UK shares. And it was just such a hassle in the end. I just got rid of all the UK stuff.
Yeah. So eventually that I think if you're going to stay in Japan, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Omar has another question. I was told that investing into American SP 500 was best. Earlier we said use NISA. So why is that better than NISA, or why is NISA better than that? I think they might be getting confused and thinking that NISA is a fund equivalent to SP 500. Could you clarify that?
Yeah, so NISA is an account. It's a tax-free account. And inside NISA, you can invest in many different things, including the S&P 500. So if you want to buy S&P 500 funds, mutual funds, or ETFs inside a NISA account, you can do, and then you don't have to pay any tax on the dividends or on the capital gains. So that's why NISA is better, because it means you don't have to pay tax.
Yeah, the way this works for me in my SBI account is I buy some ETF, for example. You select how much you want to buy and the price you want to buy at, and then it actually has a sort of select button there. Do you want this in the NISA or in the non-NISA bit of my account? And if there's enough allowance left, I'll select NISA. Is it safer? I think you'll agree with me, Ben. It doesn't necessarily make it safer or risky. It just means you don't pay tax when you sell the ETF later, or if you get any dividends from the ETF. 5-year and 125% rule. I'm not sure what
that's the mortgage thing for variable interest rates.
Oh, okay. And final question from JP Phil. They're trying to butter us up with some compliments, aren't they? This podcast is great, learning good facts about mortgage payments and foreign important. Yeah, what do you want, JP Phil? Oh, they want to know stuff. Is that what we're here for? What is the foreign reporting rate and to whom for a USA citizen?
Okay, so this is in Japan. If you have assets overseas that are worth more than 50 million yen, sadly, they haven't increased this for a while. You have to report the existence of these assets to the Japanese tax office. You don't have to pay tax. There's no taxable event, but the tax office wants to know about stuff abroad. It's a bit like the FBAR in the US. So the US government wants to know about bank accounts abroad. Japanese government wants to know about stuff that people own overseas, mainly so they don't, evade taxes later on. So
just a quick conversion. So that's the equivalent of roughly $335,000 in assets.
It needs to go up.
Of Japan.
It needs to have gone up. Like it's been 50 million forever, and the yen's collapsed during that time. So
yeah. But only certain things, some things are excluded, aren't they? For example, Rolex watches or vintage wine or something, it does not count.
Nothing is excluded. Everything is included, including your canoe and your bicycle.
Oh, really?
That rusty truck that you have. Yeah, everything.
Oh, I did not know that. Whoa. Okay.
You're probably thinking of the exit tax.
Yes.
So the exit tax is only shares and share-like things. So no real estate, no cash. Only things with capital gains. The foreign asset reporting is
every
anything.
Type of asset.
If you've got a lot of olive oil, you have to report that as well.
If it's outside of Japan, right?
Yes. Not if it's if it's in your kitchen, it's okay. But if it's in Lebanon, then you have to declare it.
Right. Warwick, good evening, gents. Good evening. Any advice on what a sound tsumitate and seicho, that's growth, NISA portfolio split would look like? 80-20, many thanks. Okay, I said NISA, but not necessarily
33, wouldn't it? So basically, the tsumitate and the seicho portion behave in the same way. They're both tax-free forever. So yeah, if you're putting stuff into them, I would consider just splitting it the way NISA is split. So 2/3 into the growth portion, the seicho, and 1/3 into the tsumitate portion.
So you wouldn't necessarily try and fill one up first before filling the other one up?
You could. I mean, it basically doesn't matter. The only limiting factor is that tsumitate has to be done on a monthly basis, whereas the growth portion, you can put money in whenever you want. So it's a bit more flexible that way.
And there's less choice with what funds and things you can choose in the tsumitate one, I think.
Yeah, only mutual funds.
Only mutual funds.
And only from the list of 225 approved mutual funds.
Right. So if you want to buy individual shares, you've got no choice. You have to do that in the seicho NISA.
Yeah. Or ETFs, or
Oh, yeah. Right. Omar is back. I will apply for PR, permanent residency, next year. Good luck. And I decided to stay. So thanks for the videos. We'll definitely start investing soon. My finances and savings have been terrible until now. Haha. You're not alone, but the second best time to start is right now. So just watching this and learning and then taking action is as good as you can do.
It's the way to go. Yeah. Cool. And you had a question as well, didn't you, Daniel?
Oh, I did. Yes. This is actually, so my wife, we talked about part-time jobs earlier. She's just about to start a part-time job next month. Thank you. She's got NISA, not maxed out, but some money in the tsumitate, some money in the seicho. She'll have a bit of extra income from the part-time job. Should she top up the NISA a bit, or should she get an iDeCo? What would you recommend? She doesn't have an iDeCo at all at the moment.
Yeah, so the main benefit of iDeCo is reducing your income tax.
She will probably
if you're working part-time, you're probably not paying a lot of income tax, if at all. So in that case, because iDeCo is taxable when it comes out.
Right, yeah.
Not for most people. Most people don't pay tax on their iDeCo, but you might. And it's very inflexible. So you don't have access to the money. There's rules about when you can get it from age 60 and so on. So it sounds like just trying to fill NISA would be better.
Oh.
You know, because NISA is very flexible. You can get the money whenever you want. It's very easy to invest. It's very quick. And if you're not getting that benefit of reducing your income tax, iDeCo might not be worth the hassle, basically.
Yeah, okay. That's really good advice.
Same for students, so etc. And also, students would have to be paying Nenkin to use iDeCo, and it's probably not worth it. So because they can get an exemption for that.
Oh, right. Okay. We're getting more questions in. Are you okay answering a couple more?
Yeah. Although I'm probably not going to answer these, but
oh, okay.
So we've got what's your view on investment real estate? I'm not a fan. The investment summit that Daniel mentioned before, that's a great place to go if you're interested in real estate in Japan.
Yeah, I'll just put the link to those videos up again. Yeah, that was the best for me making up my mind, is just to learn about it and then realize pretty soon in some of the videos, like, okay, this is not for me.
Cool. And then after NISA and iDeCo,
what are other good ways to invest in Japan?
Yeah, if you fill NISA and iDeCo, that's going to get you a long way towards having a decent investment savings for retirement. You can keep investing in the stock market in a taxable account. That would mean that you'd pay 20% tax on the profits, but that's a lot less than income tax for a lot of people. You can do real estate. You can invest in a small business. There's all sorts of options, but the easy one is to just keep investing in index funds through a broker, and that's what I basically do.
Usually, we get somebody asking about cryptocurrency as well, and so that is obviously an option. We got lots of well-known cryptocurrency trading companies in Japan where you can do it through your bank and stuff. Well, or you can link your bank account to buy cryptocurrency relatively easily. But you wanted something that was not too risky, and personally, I would feel that cryptocurrency is more risky. Plus, it's taxed more highly than other investments or like stocks and shares. Warwick got a monthly 60,000 yen investment budget and now putting it all in the Tsumitate NISA. Would you recommend putting some of that into the Seicho account?
Not necessarily, because the Seicho account, the growth account, is much more flexible in terms of timing and also in terms of how much you can put in. So filling the Tsumitate first, and then later on, if you've got extra money, you can just throw it into the growth portion. Makes sense to me. So yeah, you don't necessarily need to diversify your NISA investments. It's perfectly fine to just put it into the Tsumitate until it's full, and then after that, put it into growth. Rather than the other way around, because if you filled the growth first, you might find the Tsumitate quite limiting in terms of how you can invest into it. So I think filling the Tsumitate first makes a lot of sense if that's what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah. Omar again, do you invest in gold? Recently, it's been going up like crazy.
I have some that I had from before. I haven't. I don't actively invest in gold.
I have my iDeCo account split into 4. I try and have this I've forgotten what the name of the portfolio is.
Permanent portfolio. Ray Dalio
it,
stole it from Harry Brown.
Right, that's it. Yeah, so we talked about this before, but a quarter. I don't have it exactly the same. I have my allocation is a quarter in international stocks, a quarter in international bonds, quarter in international real estate, and then a quarter in gold. Not because I'm necessarily bullish about gold, and I think it's gone up so much. It's maybe not. I don't know. It could be at its peak right now because it's gone up a lot, or it could go up more. I've got no idea. But
yeah, when something's gone up like crazy, that's not the time to buy it.
Right.
Generally.
But yeah, keeping a quarter in each of those, I don't need to worry about whether I think it's going to go up or not. I just keep the same quarter, and it kind of works out. It's done well so far, anyway.
Yeah, good timing. But yeah, starting now, I'm not sure I'd invest in gold, because it's at all-time highs. So
Wow, I think we've done everything. Obviously, invest in Pokemon cards, and then the value of mine will go up. Not risky at all.
Awesome. On that note, thank you very much. Oh, really important announcement. So from next month, we're going to be moving to Wednesday evenings. So if you've got used to, RetireJapan TV on a Monday evening, I'm sorry, it's changing from April. So we'll be on Wednesday evenings from now on. Same format though, same things. We'll announce it on social media, on YouTube. Please join us live to ask questions. Or if you're watching the replay, that just means the replay will be a couple of days later.
So that is Wednesday, April 23rd.
8 p.m.
I'm just putting it here just to make a record of it. Okay. Good. I might ask, how often do we change our portfolio ratios? Never. I think that's the whole point.
Pretty much, yeah.
Agree on one and stick with it.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you next month. Have a good end of March. See if you can survive into the new kind of fiscal year. And cheers.
Cool. See you everybody.